All right. All right. Welcome everyone. Hey, you do nothing. What's up, man? You here? Well, I'm here too. I'm here. All right. Well, let's make sure the volume is not too loud here. Quick check. Okay. Let me put the music down a little bit more. I know this music's very nice. It's kind of like a feels like I'm in like a department store or something. Like a Nordstrom, maybe? Nordstrom? Alright, so let me adjust my mic. Pardon any sounds that you may hear from me adjusting my mic. Okay. Well, welcome guys. So if you guys didn't know, the stream was supposed to take place on Monday. Unfortunately, I had 2 procedures done. Nothing too serious, but the results will be kind of nerve-wracking because first of all, a procedure was done because 2 procedures were done just to kind of figure out some problems that I may potentially have. So I'm just praying that everything is alright, and yeah, that's all I will divulge for now. But yeah, my doctor was telling me that it took about 24 to 48 hours to recover, but it kind of took a little bit longer for me. So today I'm feeling much better. I still have a little bit of pain, but yesterday I definitely could not, well, Monday and yesterday, I definitely couldn't do the live stream. I was very nauseous, my head was aching, I couldn't really speak well, and I couldn't really concentrate. So I wasn't able to, I wouldn't have been able to give you guys a good live stream as I usually do. So, all right, well, let's begin with that, okay? Okay, hey, what's up guys? Welcome. Nice, welcome everyone. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the stream so far with the music, the vibes, and again, hopefully you guys understand me of why I couldn't do my stream yesterday and on Monday. You know, again, these procedures are just to kind of figure out what's going on, maybe leading into a diagnosis. So anyways, let's talk about Boeing. Okay, so that is the purpose of this stream. The reason why I chose Boeing is that, well, it is part of one of the tickers that I've listed out in the CFO Swinger Watch Report, in the list specifically. And well, first of all, technically, right, it's kind of the reasons why I chose this ticker to be in the list, and there's potential momentum building up, not just in the ticker itself, but in the company, and we'll be talking about that tonight. And you know, if you guys aren't really interested in Boeing, hey, I mean, I still think this is relevant info for the future. Even if you don't like how Boeing trades, I personally do not like how Boeing trades, but I still want to go into Boeing and talk about it just because of the fact that there are opportunities brewing here. I believe so. So stick with me and you guys will figure out why, okay? So first of all, I looked into Boeing. Well, actually, let me just look at the technical aspect first, okay? So, first of all, this week, I chose Boeing because, well, if you take a look at the weekly time frame, we have a massive base that spans 6 years now, okay? So after that huge dumper from 2020, everything closed down, so that means we had to have been seeing, you know, well, we were seeing zero air travel. Hey, what's up? Hello. So, you know, companies like Boeing, which manufactures and produces airplanes, right? That's kind of their main product line, right? These planes and these wide-body planes, specifically for Boeing, they're popular for their wide-body planes, right? Those big planes, but they essentially lost a lot of orders, right? They didn't have a lot of backlog orders, right? So that's what happened in COVID. So that's kind of a quick review. And there's a lot of other problems, but I'll talk about that later. But technically, this sell-off caused a lot of damage to the company, right? They lost a lot of market share, first of all, based on the share price alone. And from this point forward, they never recovered. And during this entire 6-year run, it just went up and down, up and down, up and down 3 times now. We're in the 3rd phase here of moving up and down, up and down, up and down. And throughout this process, we saw Boeing forming this massive wedge chart pattern. Now, this is a wedge chart pattern that is defined as a bottoming chart pattern strictly because of the fact that we have such a long time frame, right? Obviously, a wedge chart pattern is a neutral chart pattern, but in this specific case on a weekly time frame, we can identify this one as a bottoming chart pattern, right? Because of the fact that the price hasn't gone anywhere for 6 years. So with this wedge chart pattern, as you guys can clearly see, the price has been conforming to these two trend lines, right? This ascending support trend line and this descending resistance trend line for 6 years. And this specific week so far, we have officially come back over the daily 50 and daily 200 SMAs. Now, what's different from the previous two up and down phases? Well, first of all, the first phase, the price was still underneath this weekly 200 SMA. And the second phase, we're seeing the price briefly staying over the weekly 200 SMA. And now on the third phase, we're seeing something kind of changing here. This character change with Boeing. And the fact that the price is able to stay above the weekly 200 SMA and the weekly 50 SMA. So again, this yellow line is my 200 and this dark blue line is my 50. But the fact that we're seeing the price staying over both of my weekly 50 SMAs while it has had a golden cross. So if you guys don't know what that is, that's usually when two long-term SMA, simple moving averages, are has a bullish crossover to the upside. So that means the sort of smaller SMA crosses over the larger SMA. So in this case, the 50 weekly SMA crosses over the 200 weekly SMA. We get what we like to call a bullish crossover, right? Or a gold. Excuse me. I'm blanking out here right now, but you guys know what I mean, right? So yeah, a golden crossover, right? So you know, the fact that we're constantly seeing the price being defended at both the weekly 50 and weekly 200 SMAs is kind of an interesting thing to see, especially after 6 years, and especially as we continue to conform to these two trend lines that make up this entire massive wedge. Now, I also want to point out that the price is getting pretty close to the convergence point of this wedge chart pattern. Now, obviously, I've always seen kind of this general question appearing when people are studying wedge chart patterns. So let me actually give you guys a quick technical lesson here. All right, so I used to teach this with my students here. So here's my brush. Okay, so we have what we like to call a wedge chart pattern or symmetrical triangle chart pattern. They're both synonymous names. Okay, you don't have to really know which one it is, or you don't have to really choose between the two. Right? They mean the same thing, so you guys can say either or. Right? So it's a neutral chart pattern, and usually what that means is that, well, it can provide two different opportunities: a breakout to the upside or a breakout to the downside. Now, usually we don't tend to see the price completing the entire chart pattern where these two trend lines converge, right, at a single point. They usually tend to break out around here, right? As it usually breaks out around kind of the midpoint of the wedge chart pattern or very close to the convergence point, but it never actually completes the entire chart pattern, all right? And that's kind of what we want to see now, right? What I want to see is that Boeing makes an upside move out of this neutral chart pattern, this wedge chart pattern. But again, in this specific case, we're aiming for the upside breakout because the fact that this is such a large time span and the fact that this is a 6-year, a multi-year chart pattern, we can actually identify this as a bottoming chart pattern. So with that technical lesson in mind, okay, I really don't want to see in this time right now, right, the price fully completing this wedge chart pattern. If it does, I mean, great. I just have to continue to watch this name. But if it continues to move until, you know, it decides to get really close to and really tight to the convergence point of these two trend lines here, I mean, great. But again, this will kind of make the bulls lose confidence in a potential breakout to the upside if it continues, because again, 6+ years is already a long time. Okay, if it's not to you, then I don't know what to say, but that's a long time to base that. All right, it can favor the bulls, and the fact that my SMAs on the long-term time frame here, right? The higher time frames, my weekly 50, my weekly 200 SMAs that I've just mentioned a couple minutes ago are showing a nice golden cross, and the fact that the price is making higher highs and higher lows while still conforming to the wedge chart pattern clearly tells me that, hey, there is a potential opportunity here, right? And so I think as long as we're able to stick above both of my SMA, so even if we decide to break below the weekly 50 SMA as we've done here, I still want the price to be able to uphold the weekly 200 SMA. And guess what? The weekly 200 is now curling higher. So that is yet another nice character change to this overall bottoming process that Boeing has been experiencing for the last 6 years. Okay, so from a technical perspective, as long as Boeing is able to stick over this $200 share price level, right, I think we are in for a nice multi-month and multi-year run for Boeing. All right, and there's actually a fundamental bias, a bullish fundamental bias that I have for this reason too. Not just from a technical perspective, but from a fundamental perspective as well. So both angles matter here, right? So let me actually go into what I've written for my CFO Swinger Watch Report readers over the weekend, right? So let me actually read this here. All right, so first of all, obviously, if any of my readers are watching this stream now, go back to the report and kind of follow along with me. But again, for anyone who's out there who is not a part of the CFO Swinger Watch Report, make sure you guys check the description box down below, and you guys can check out the very second link in the description box where you guys can see the links to the subscription boxes that I have, right? I have different tiers that you guys can choose from. But again, once you're there, the ball's in your court, and you guys can choose whatever you guys want to join and become a reader of this very, very nice, comprehensive, top-down analysis filled report that you will get every single weekend. Okay, so a small little plug there, and I'll plug that again at the end of the stream to remind you guys. Okay, so let me read this here. Yes, this is definitely a ticker many hate, and I can't blame anyone for that because I hate it too. If you guys don't know the T, the stock just trades really badly, right? It's a wiki plus bid and ask spread is kind of all over the place, right? However, I can't ignore such a beautiful chart pattern that has been building up momentum for the last 6 years and has had momentum in the last few months, right? That's I briefly mentioned that with the higher highs and higher lows, right? As seen here on the weekly time frame, we are faced with a massive coiling macro wedge chart pattern, and the tighter and longer the base, the bigger the breakout will be, right? And that's a pretty important statement that you guys should always remember when you're doing technical analysis, right? When you have a base, especially a bottoming base, you want it to have a tightening action as it goes towards the right side of the of your screen, right, of the chart pattern as it forms, and it should have a very long time frame, right, where the price is staying in that chart pattern or in that base. Because if those two conditions are met, we'll be getting a nice bigger breakout that lasts a long time as well. Okay, so as I've said here, right, time frame and price volatility wise on the actual breakout. And last week, there was some positive news for this company, a rarity for the last few years, and I'll talk about that as well, as China and Boeing is expecting a major deal to close sometime between 3/31 to 4/2, right? So March 31st through April 2nd. So I want to be advantageous of this situation and be looking at this stock and this beautiful chart pattern. If this Chinese deal is what the price needs to break out of the 6-year deadlock, I am all for it, and you should be as well, even if you hate it. Okay, so that's what I want to see here. Oops, make sure okay, there we go. So does that make sense, guys? Okay, good. I see your guys' reactions there, and make sure you guys hit that like button down below as well. Again, I know many don't like Boeing, but again, I really think that you guys can really benefit from what I'm about to tell you here, okay? So we have our very first fundamental catalyst here, which is this potential Chinese deal that can close, right, between these 2 days. right? So now let's talk about kind of the history here, since it's been almost a decade now as to when we had the very first kind of major bad, Boeing in itself has been a bad apple to itself. And what I mean by that is the actual corporate of Boeing, right? So the entire culture of Boeing has been kind of, not just kind of, but it has been bad. And the fact that they've held safety concerns from the public and from from the FAA, right? So pretty bad legal stuff there, and also in exchange for the public safety. And what I mean by that as well, in 2018 and 2019, their new line of aircraft, the 737 MAX aircraft, led into some very horrible crashes that have occurred. It was a flawed safety culture that they've had at Boeing, where they essentially ignored a safety concern in which they didn't put that safety concern in the handbooks for pilots to read. And in fact, I believe what I remember, excuse my memory guys here, but if I'm wrong about this, but I think it was something to do with the fact that a certain quote-unquote safety, like a button or something, or software, that it didn't actually work well, and it actually led into the actual crashes that have occurred that killed hundreds of people from 2018 to 2019. And Boeing quote-unquote investigated themselves, right? And they actually didn't release these findings, right? And once it was too late, once these crashes have occurred, that's when they actually got the federal authorities to scrutinize what have occurred here, right? The FAA, and that's when they found out this safety, this very flawed safety culture that they've had at corporate. And it's interesting because there weren't a lot of people that got punished for this, which is interesting, as always, in a very, very post-capitalist society here. But it has been a long time coming for Boeing. There's a lot of good documentaries out there where Boeing's problems really began more than almost 30 years ago now, when they acquired McDonnell Douglas, a competing aircraft manufacturer, and specifically in military jets, military, I guess, aviation's what you want to call it. And Boeing acquired them, right? And Boeing got a lot bigger, and Boeing has been able to acquire a lot of good military contracts regarding military technology and military aviation. If you guys didn't know that, right? So now, regarding that situation, okay, Boeing has been able to actually bounce back from that. So ultimately, after multiple crashes and multiple, not multiple, but hundreds of souls lost, which could have been, again, is absolutely tragic here, but which could have been avoided. Boeing actually began to make tangible changes. And the fact that they needed these crashes and they needed these federal investigation and scrutiny is kind of sad. But again, I guess this is how they learn, unfortunately. But either way, right? Boeing has been actually bouncing back, and the 737 MAX has regained some of its reputation. I don't even think the 737 MAX even had that good of a reputation anyway, because of the fact that that they missed so many safety checks and even just the design itself, right? It was supposed to be kind of this up and coming new economical, very very eco-safe and very very reliable aircraft that Boeing can do can manufacture very very quickly and sell to these airline companies. But these crashes have happened, and hopefully they actually learn from this. I mean, so far it seems like they have. I mean, they've specifically fixed that security and safety flaw that they've had, but I don't know if that actual culture has changed, but hopefully it has changed, and maybe in the future as board members change, hopefully that changes as well completely. But again, this was their way of cutting down costs especially cutting down costs, which again led into these crashes that have occurred. So unfortunately that has happened, but for now, Boeing has able to enhance their safety checks. I don't know how I can't believe I'm actually saying that. I think as an airplane manufacturer that serves the public, they should be held accountable. Well, not just from the public's view, but from internally, to make sure that their product that they're sending out to airliners to sell are safe, right? And yes, they can reduce cost because they are a company that they want to make money from, and to satisfy investors, unfortunately, as well, right? As a company, as a public company, that makes sense, guys. But again, when it comes to these tragic events, right, I feel like they should focus more on actual safety, right? Because if the safety is not there, then what kind of value are they providing for shareholders, right? So for Boeing to really fail on that aspect was a huge drawdown. And when the entire COVID fiasco occurred, that was kind of the final straw. And the fact that they haven't been able to recover their market share fully, right, to the extent that they were back in 2016, 2017, 2018, right, it was kind of it has been kind of hard for them, but thankfully their backlog of orders have actually recovered, and the 737 MAX has kind of been being pushed out, and people are actually buying them now, as they've demonstrated that, hey, this flaw is gone now, and this plane is safe to use, and it still is able to provide safety for the passengers that want to be in them, right? And now all of that has now come into what I want to talk about now, currently, where Boeing has been kind of in the backlight compared to their main competitor right now, which is Airbus. Okay, so let me give you guys a quick breakdown. So I like to read a magazine regarding aviation, and based on what I've read late last year on their new edition of that specific month of last year, it showed that Airbus still has been beating Boeing based on the order, the size of their order backlog, and overall Airbus has been taking market share from Boeing little by little, but okay, Boeing has actually been starting to catch up in the last 3 years. Okay, and compared to Airbus in 2025, Boeing actually has received more net orders. I believe it was net orders last year compared to Airbus, and that was the first time that has ever happened in the last 5 years. Okay, so I think this could potentially be a pivot, especially right now. I'm connecting this now to the current time frame where we're potentially having this China deal, right? So I think they're building this momentum that they've gained from last year, the fact that they have beat Airbus in the overall net orders that they've received in 2025, and they're using this momentum to potentially close this massive China deal, right? I believe they're I don't know the exact details of this deal, but they're obviously going to be selling their airplanes to China. But I think this is where Boeing can actually have this potential flip fundamentally as a company to regain the market share that they've lost through the bad reputation along with COVID, right? And essentially get back to being head-to-head competitive-wise with Airbus, okay? And potentially, maybe Boeing can actually streamline, not just streamline, but push 737 MAXs internationally, right? And maybe China, with this China deal, I don't know the exact details of this deal, but maybe 737 MAX can be a major deal that they can close with China on this deal, right? So I think with again, the 737 Max was, again, it was pushed as an aircraft that the company can make very, very quickly, and the fact that this this plane is so economically friendly, right, regarding the jet fuel usage, right, and the fact that I believe even the sound of the aircraft was quieter too, because of the fact that it was able to use the jet fuel very efficiently with its engines. And the fact that the actual body of the airplane or something like that, the way that it's engineered and manufactured, it has a more sleeker look to it as well, etc. You know, all the good stuff, right? The 737 Maxes, maybe they can actually start pushing it even more compared to the other wide body aircraft, like the, I think, if I'm not really well versed with the Boeing airplanes, but I think they I think what was it? What, the 767s and the 777s, right? I'm pretty sure. Someone fact check me on that. But yeah, so 777s, the 777s is what they call it, right? And 767s. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So those two wide body airplanes, I believe Boeing actually has a bigger backlog of orders compared to the Airbus wide body airplanes, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that if they're able to maintain the larger backlog of orders of their wide-body airplanes, along with their potential to push the 737 MAX airplanes more in the US and internationally, I think Boeing really has a potential to pivot here. And again, from a technical aspect, when you combine that fundamental perspective onto a technical perspective, I think the 6-year plus deadlock in the share price can actually break to the upside. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so again, I think even if we have that reputation loss, and again the COVID move lower, the COVID loss, right, a backlog of orders, I think Boeing still has the momentum to continue. I believe the overall backlog of orders that Boeing has can give them a nice runway of 10 plus years of continuously manufacturing planes and being able to continue to operate, even if they've lost their reputation. But again, Boeing is too big of a company where I don't think they will ever run out of things to do, like making planes. And even if they were to stop making planes, I don't know why they would stop making commercial and public, planes for the public to use. They still have their military aspect, right? The military contracts, military aviation, right? So I think Boeing here still has a good chance to kind of revive their reputation with the 737 MAX in a longer period of time, which will eventually allow, bigger orders to occur and bigger deals to occur, like this Chinese deal that they can potentially close in between March 31st through April 2nd. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, now for the final piece here, okay, of my overall analysis, okay, I want to go over the actual fundamentals, okay, and use Koifin to have a very quick look as to how Boeing has been operating as a business, right? And give me 1 second, guys. I think someone's at the door. Let me see. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, well, that was no one. All right, so here's the final piece to the puzzle of, well, not puzzle, but my bullish bias, right? So longer term though, guys, longer term, okay? Again, this is kind of a 5 to 10 year. First of all, you guys can kind of clearly see where Boeing has been actually, where Boeing has actually suffered, right? Obviously, we have the 2020 COVID that has occurred, right? Just take a look at their free cash flow and even their gross profit margin. But you guys can actually see where the reputation began to take a hit, right? So in 2018 and 2019, right? that's where we had those crashes, those big crashes where hundreds and hundreds of people died, right? It was a full loss, right, of those airplanes. And after that, after 2018, 2019, things really began to go really, really bad for this company, all right? And their overall debt began to climb up as well. Not just because of COVID, but due to that reputation, right? And the fact that, well, people died, right? I mean that's something that I think Boeing really should have focused on. But again, this weird and crazy culture, the safety culture that they've had, where they didn't want to tell anyone, even the pilots on their own handbooks of those new 737 MAX planes. The fact that they didn't even say it on there, it was crazy. Right? It's absolutely insane. Because again, how could an airplane manufacturer not tell the pilots about this flaw, or actually fix the flaw before they even push this plane out to airliners to sell them, right? Because again, how are you going to provide shareholder value if you're not doing exactly what you should be doing as an airplane manufacturer, which is safety, right? I mean, I'm laughing about it because it's so incredulous. It's crazy, right, to think about, right? So, with that being said, you guys can clearly see with just the gross profit margins, the free cash flow, the debt, right? It looks horrible, okay? But from 2020 and onward, right, things have been slightly improving, and I think they can improve further in the next 5 to 10 years, okay? So, as you guys can clearly see here, the free cash flow has been slightly becoming a bit more positive here, right? And that's what you want to see, right? Again, I'm just doing this is like a quick checklist, right? I'm not going to do a full fundamental analysis, all right? I'll leave that up into the actual report if I want to write about Boeing as an investable ticker. Maybe I'll do that next week, okay? So, free cash flow is slightly becoming more of a consistency here with the positive FCF, right? And regarding the profit margin, right? This is still pretty, it's not that great, right? They're still figuring things out as a company, okay? And I think overall, the SBC, the stock-based compensation for Boeing and for its board members are still way too high compared to what they should be actually focusing on as well too. And I believe that's also going to be a scrutiny in the near-term future. I'm just saying that out now, in the stream. But I think the SBC for this company is also going to be scrutinized as it was back in 2018, 2019 after those crashes occurred. But anyways, that's another topic to discuss at a later time. But yeah, so now Boeing has actually stopped, I believe. Well, not stopped. They've continued to decrease their repurchase share buyback program, which again I don't think they should be focusing on share buyback right now. Again, they should be focusing on their numbers, right? Their margins, right? And just the overall revenue, net income, and etc. Right? But one thing that I really like to see was the fact that they've slowly began to pay down their debts, right, for the last 6 years. And alongside that, their short-term cash and short-term investments have actually increased. Okay, so this short-term cash and short-term investment compared to total debt, not good. It's not good, right? But again, from a 5 to 10 year perspective, I think I think we can still get them some sort of an opportunity to recover fundamentally, and if they can actually again regain their overall backlog of orders, especially with the 737 MAX, since hopefully again that they've they've corrected everything with the flaws of the airplane and the actual safety culture that they've had at Boeing. Again, I'm just assuming that because again we haven't had any major crashes with the 737 MAX. I'm praying, okay? I think they can continue to push out this again, it's a fairly nice plane, okay? I've been in one, all right? I've been in one the last 3 years. It's not a bad plane, but again, hopefully they've really just continued to upgrade this plane because again, this plane really is fitting the quote-unquote innovative and more quote-unquote better plane for the future. All right, again, I'm kind of laughing there because again, all those incredulous things have occurred with those crashes. Again, RP to all of those lost souls. I mean, that's absolutely insane that this company did that, and to all the families affected. And yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But anyways, I don't want to make this live stream too cryptic there and too pessimistic. But again, I think Boeing can try, well, not try, they have been trying for the last 6 years to rebuild the public trust and the federal authorities' trusts. and again, through this this rejuvenation of their 737 MAX program. Okay, now obviously their other planes, their wide-body planes, are a lot. Well, they have a better track record, and they have a lot more trust amongst the public eye and the federal authorities. So I think the wide-body airplanes, they don't have any problems. Again, the 777s, the 767s, I think those will be fine. But I think they should focus on improving the 737 MAX even more and have it as the main plane that they will be able to continue to improve on for the future, right? So hopefully Boeing can make the 737 MAX even more complete and have it have a better reputation that they've had since 2018 and 2019. All right, and they've been doing that. But it's been a very, very slow run to recover that reputation in their 737 MAX program. All right, so with all of that being said, these are the reasons why, right? Or those are the reasons why I think Boeing can break out of this 6+ year deadlock in share price. And I think Boeing, if they can really just push down on the safety rhetoric and focus on that safety rhetoric from the company, I think they can actually come back as a major airplane manufacturer in the next 5 to 10 years and potentially, again, beat out Airbus. Because if you guys remember, well, I wouldn't remember because I wasn't alive back then, but when Boeing first started out, they quickly gained a reputation as the pinnacle of aircraft safety. Right? And that might be hard to understand now, because if you talk about Boeing, people will be like, "Oh my God, I don't trust the Boeing." Right? If it's a Boeing, I ain't going. That was the statement that people used to say. And people actually actively canceled their flights if their flight was a 737 MAX or any type of Boeing plane, and they actually wanted to go for Airbus. So again, if Boeing can actually recover their overall reputation and actually gain back the public trust and become known kind of this pinnacle of safety once more, I think the next 5 to 10 years, Boeing can actually come back to that 300 to 400 share price that they had achieved initially in 2018 and 2019. So again, I think overall, this Chinese deal, if they close it, I think this can be the start of something new, right, for this company, where they can actually continue to expand internationally and have really large deals in the Asian markets, right? Because again, the Asian markets are very, very complicated and convoluted, and there's a lot Boeing can actually really become integrated with the Asian markets, even more so than the Western markets, right? So again, based on everything that I've told you guys, I think this is kind of the reasons why I think Boeing really has a chance to take off in a 5 to 10 year time frame. And as you guys can see, my title says, "Can Boeing finally take off after 6 years?" And I really think so, guys. But from a 5 to 10 year time frame. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's it for tonight, guys. That's kind of my overall analysis and perspective on Boeing. And so if you guys agree with me there, or if you guys enjoyed what I've talked about here, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. All right. And yeah, I think overall, guys, my overall perspective on Boeing is that yes, short term and midterm, I think they still have a lot of work to do, even if they have done a lot of work since those big crashes in between those 2 years of 28. Boeing still has a lot of work based on the backlog of orders that they've had since 2020, and they're still currently getting. And so if this China deal closes, I think the overall rhetoric on Boeing can actually change. And I think this opens up kind of this runway. Hopefully you guys saw what I did there. This runway for Boeing to land on and to continue onward, forward and move forward and push forward to maybe come back as this pinnacle of aircraft manufacturer safety. Okay. All right, so that is it for tonight, guys. I will most likely try to do a live tomorrow again, because I missed out on doing a live on Monday and again on Tuesday. So I will do a live tomorrow, and I'm gonna go over something very interesting, and I think it has a huge indication as to whether or not the markets can actually push up higher or push lower. All right, I've already talked about this today with my CFO Swinger Watch Report readers in the private CFO Discord community. So again, if you guys aren't a reader of the CFO Swinger Watch Report, or if you guys aren't part of the private CFO Discord community, I highly recommend you guys to become a reader of the CFO Swinger Watch Report, because you will automatically be gaining access to the private CFO Discord community. All right, you get 2 things for the price of 1, right? So again, just check the link down below. All right, there's multiple links, but it's the only link that will give you the that'll help you arrive at the destination that you want to be in to become a subscriber and reader of the CFO Swinger Watch Report. And if you guys have not subscribed yet to the Charts Focus 1 channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, because we're very, very close, and we're getting close to the 650 subscriber count. All right, we're taking it day by day, but we're almost getting there, right? And also we've grown really quickly this year. As a matter of fact, I think we were at a little over like 580 at the start of this year, and now we're at 624 subscribers. So again, I thank you guys so much for hitting that subscribe button and liking my videos and joining my streams every single time I'm here doing these streams. So hopefully you guys are able to gain a lot of insight, gain a lot of applicable information, and hopefully these streams can always benefit your overall trading portfolios, and especially your investment portfolios, like with Boeing today, since this is a kind of a long-term investment idea that I think you guys should be looking out for in the near-term future and long-term future. Again, my overall view on this ticker is going to be the 5 to 10 year runway. Okay, so make sure you guys have this on your own watch list for that long period of time. All right. Okay, so again, I've talked too much to finish the stream, but I love you guys. I really hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Now again, I'll see you guys tomorrow here at Charts Focus 1 at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, hit that like button down below, and again, hit that subscribe button as well if you guys enjoyed what you guys heard today and what you guys have seen today from me. All right, have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.